Hi, it's Makaela here. Thanks for listening to my podcast. What you're about to listen to is an old episode of my podcast, The Midlife Awakening, which has now been replaced with the Deliberately Transformed Woman podcast. You'll still find some golden takeaways in these old episodes, but if you're the type of person who wants to discover and let go of the things that are holding you back in life by busting through fear and procrastination, overcoming imposter syndrome, and stepping into a life that is fulfilling, courageous, and intentional, then my new podcast episodes, starting from episode 21, are the ones you're looking for. You're listening to episode 16 of the Midlife Awakening podcast with Makaela Moore. Welcome to the Midlife Awakening podcast. I'm Makaela Moore, your host and certified transformation coach. I'm a 40-something woman who nerds out on brain science and believes every woman should be financially independent. This podcast is for women navigating their midlife who want to learn the secrets to unlocking their brain and freeing themselves from everything that holds them back so they can create lasting change in their lives, because everything is possible. Join me each week for conversations about the midlife and tips and tricks to hack your subconscious brain so you can deliberately transform your life and ultimately create your own financial security. First time here? Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Enjoy! I'm coming to you from a very different place this week and with a very different topic than I normally talk about. Right now, as I'm recording this, Australia is on fire. Bushfires are burning in, I think, every single state of Australia. Thousands of homes and businesses have been burnt to the ground. 500 million animals have perished. Over 20 people have died, and over 5 million hectares, or around 13 million acres of land, has gone up in flames. And of course, thousands upon thousands of people are homeless and in lots of cases jobless, and they've lost their livelihoods. There is a sense of panic across our great country as many of us try to make sense of it all, and many are laying blame with our politicians for not enacting climate change policies sooner. Our social media feeds are choked up with thousands of posts about the devastation and what we can all do to help. There is a general feeling of stress and anxiety everywhere we turn at the moment. Many people who are not in any danger from these devastating fires are feeling the pressure and becoming consumed by the stress, the anger, the anxiety, the sadness, the worry, and the guilt. One friend of mine posted yesterday that she awoke to rain and she felt guilty that it was raining at her place and not in the fire-affected places where it's so desperately needed. Someone else posted that they felt guilty about going to work as per normal. Australians who are safe and physically unaffected by these fires are feeling a very heavy sense of guilt for getting on with business as usual. But today, I don't want to talk about the devastation and the horror that our country is facing right now. I want to talk about the other side of this state of emergency. It's a mixture, really. I want to talk about human compassion and what we can achieve as a collective, and the tough Aussie spirit inherent in each of us. And I want to talk about the hidden mental toll on many of us who are safe and watching from the sidelines. My podcast this week is dedicated to every Australian struggling to process these horrific events. I have seen so many amazingly good and generous humans do some outstanding things these last few days and weeks. Celebrities and influencers are using their platforms to rally the troops, to raise much needed money to help keep the rural fire brigades going under such enormous pressure. They're raising money for organisations like the Australian Red Cross and the Salvation Army and St Vincent de Paul and other smaller charitable organisations who are all providing much needed assistance in the way of food, clothing and shelter to those who have fled their homes with nothing but the shirt on their backs. They're raising money to care for injured wildlife and to feed all the volunteers who are helping those on the ground. Aussie comedian Celeste Barber, you've got to love her. She has single-handedly raised over $32 million. That's just as at today, and only in the last few days, using her social media platform across the world. Other big-name celebrities are making very large donations. Others are volunteering at drop-off points to help sort out donations of food and clothing. And these displays of Aussie spirit and acts of human kindness and generosity, to be honest, they make me cry. And I cry because I feel for those affected, but I also cry because I am so damn proud to be an Aussie right now. Our politicians are not being seen to lead us right now. I'm not going to get into a political conversation because, to be honest, I don't have all the facts. But what I do know is that Australia is different now. Australians are different, and we will never be the same again. I see massive change happening in the form of a groundswell of citizens who want to be heard. People are making a stand for our environment in ways that I've not witnessed before. And I think Australia's political landscape is going to look very different moving forward. I've seen humanitarianism at its finest this last week, with global prayers for rain being organised and people donating whatever they could. But what we are not seeing is those people who are sitting in their living rooms, consuming all this news on their TVs and in social media. People are hurting. People are feeling helpless. People are feeling guilty and fearful. And people with a history of depression and anxiety are being triggered at alarming rates. People are feeling like Australia is in a state of panic, and rightly so. But these are all wasted emotions. Sitting in your lounge chair feeling guilty because you have rain at your house is a wasted emotion. Feeling guilty because you are going about your life is a wasted emotion. Feeling guilty about going to work or promoting your products and services is a wasted emotion, because that guilt does not serve anyone. It does not help anyone. All it does is a disservice to you by making you unhealthy. I am not saying that you don't have a right to be angry or upset about what has happened to our country. We all have a right to feel how we want to feel. And to be honest, feeling those emotions rather than denying them or burying them is healthy. And it helps people to take action and to enact change. Because every action is preceded by a feeling. But guilt, that is a wasted emotion in Australia right now, because it serves no one. What does serve people, though, is action. But for those of us who don't live close to the affected areas, possibly thinking that there is no action that we can take to help, well, buckle up, because making financial donations is not the only way we can help. Second to making those much needed financial donations, the number one way we can help is to get back to work. Get back to running our small businesses and support other small businesses by buying local. Because this is what is going to keep our economy strong. And our bushfire victims need us to be strong for them right now. They need us to keep this country's economy going. So those of us who are able need to keep working and selling our products and services to keep the economy of Australian small business flowing. While it may not seem like we are doing much to help, individual people taking action collectively makes a big difference. I mean, just look at Celeste Barber. Many people are already calling for her to become the next Prime Minister after her fundraising efforts this week. Aussies are all about mateship and camaraderie. When times get tough, we roll our sleeves up and we dig in for the greater good of our communities. It is in our DNA. And our newly adopted Aussies, I know many of them feel it too. Aussies support Aussies, plain and simple. If we allow this devastation to consume us, it will not allow us to work, and therefore we cannot contribute. If we allow this devastation to consume us, it will affect our mental health, and Australians need us on our game right now. We need to prioritise our own mental health right now, just like popping on our oxygen mask first, so we can then look after our land, our country, and those who need us. We need to support small businesses everywhere to keep the economy going. Because if our small business economy goes down the tube, that definitely won't help those affected. We owe it to ourselves and our country to be strong and to carry them as much as we can for as long as they need it. If my husband and I didn't get back to work in our small businesses, we wouldn't be making the donations that we've made. Money flows to where it is needed, but we need to be part of that funnel for it to flow. My mission, my big passion, which has been to inspire and empower women to achieve their own financial security, is as timely as ever right now, as thousands upon thousands of Australian women and their families face starting from scratch. The world needs more money flowing, and by us staying strong, having faith and keeping our small business economy afloat, we can make a big difference. A much greater difference than the energy we waste by feeling guilt and worry because we are safe. None of that will help anyone. Only taking action and being strong and having faith will help Australia to rebuild. The collective mental health of all Australians is paramount right now. If you feel the need to switch off and stop seeing the devastation, then do so. Looking after your own mental health at this time is not selfish. The effect that the stress of this situation can have on those of us watching from the sidelines can be just as traumatic. It affects our nervous systems and our cortisol levels, and the knock-on effects can lead to physical illness if we allow it. Instead of focusing on the devastation, move your attention and instead focus on all the good that is coming from this otherwise horrible situation. Australians are pulling together and showing the world what we're made of. The love and humanity and kindness and compassion. It is truly bringing out the best in Australians right now. Now, it wouldn't be an episode of my podcast if I didn't bring a little brain science into it too. And I've talked about this in previous episodes, and I want you to remember that you are 100% responsible for your mindset and your emotions. The only way you can let this situation bring you down is by choosing to. I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel sad or upset or angry or confused about what is happening. By all means, feel that. But do not stay in that state of negative emotion. Use your thoughts to create new feelings and move your attention. I was feeling horrible about this, over the weekend, and I allowed myself to become consumed with it all, all the social media. And everywhere I looked, it was something else about the fires, and it was even in my dreams. But when I woke up this morning, I moved my attention and I made a choice to take all those negative emotions and use them to help people by sharing this message in today's podcast. Australia is focused on helping those who need help, as they should. But the people sitting at home also need to hear that they matter too. Their lives and their jobs and businesses matter too. And as I sat on the beach on Saturday with my family and some friends, it was a beautiful, clear day, and I felt guilty for a moment about experiencing some joy when so many are suffering. But did my guilt help anyone? No. My frustration and anger about the situation may have helped somewhat because it has fueled this podcast episode. But again, if I hang on to it, all it will serve to do is to make me sick, and then I won't be strong enough to help Australia. So choose your thoughts, Move your attention to where it is best utilised. Get a new focus, because we are where our attention is. If we obsess over this devastation without taking any action, we will stay in that place, becoming consumed until it affects our mental and physical health. We need to focus on the positives, the action, what we can do, how we can help, each in our own small way to make a difference. Power of the people is an amazing energy, and it is happening right now in Australia. I encourage you to write to your local federal member of parliament demanding action be taken in regards to climate change. The collective Australian voice needs to be heard, so every single letter we write, it must be read. Our individual voices can make a difference. Australian marketer Anna Richards, who spent many years working in the political arena, has been spreading this message, and to help us in knowing what to write to our respective MPs, she has drafted a letter that each and every one of us can access to use. You can just pop your local federal MP's details in at the top, your details in at the bottom, and send it off. It's all pre-written, or you can change it however you like. But Anna is making a massive difference with this one thing. You can follow her on Instagram. Her handle is AnnaRose_Richards, and she's created a whole IGTV video explaining how the letter works, how Parliament works. It's go and watch it. It's worth watching. I'll also pop a link in my show notes so that you can access this letter. Climate change has been ignored in Australian government for too long, and together we can all make a big difference by doing this one thing. I also saw a post by Lisa Messenger. She's a well-known Australian businesswoman and influencer, and it was about people planning road trips to the towns and regions affected by the fires once it's safe to do so. And there's even a hashtag, go with empty eskies. We are all encouraged to visit these towns and regions and spend our money there. Take an empty esky and stock up on groceries. Go with a near empty fuel tank and refuel at a local fuel station. Stay in the local hotels, motels, caravan parks and campgrounds. Shop at the local stores. Buy that gift you need. Buy that book you've been wanting, or that thing from the hardware store at a small business in these towns and regions, instead of buying from, big business back home. If you know of an online business based in one of these affected areas, buy something online from them. My family, we've got a road trip planned this March, which we've had planned for a little while, and it's down to South Australia, Victoria and New South Wales, and we're actually going to be travelling through many of these affected areas for a few weeks. So we're going to be doing just that, spending as much as we can in these affected towns, and the money that we earn now by getting on with business now will be spent in these towns, helping them get back into business and get their economy going again. It is natural for us to feel the effects of the doom and gloom of a situation as horrendous as this. But I want you to know that you do not have to let it get you down. You do not have to feel guilty for going about your life or getting back to business. Because by getting back to business, we can still have empathy and compassion, but we can keep our country going and support those in need by keeping our economy strong and money flowing to where it needs to go. I read a quote recently by Albert Schweitzer, and it was, "The purpose of human life is to serve and to show compassion and the will to help others." Australians are doing a damned fine job of that right now. But know this, just because we are not on the front lines helping or making big financial donations does not mean that we cannot help or serve our beautiful nation. In true Aussie underdog spirit, we are banding together like never before, and it will never be the same again. We will rise up from these ashes stronger than ever before, and I truly believe we will collectively be the change that our climate so desperately needs for us and the rest of the world. I have put a few links in the show notes of today's episode, including organisations for you to make donations to, and for the letter template for you to send to your federal member of parliament to demand a climate emergency be declared and action taken. Let's save our beloved sunburnt country. I know today's episode isn't my usual programming, but this is something I just feel so passionate about right now, as do so many other Aussies. And while everyone is talking about helping those desperately in need, I just wanted to start a conversation about how we can help ourselves in order to help and serve others and our great nation. If you know someone who needs to hear this message, please share this because we need to all help each other. Stay safe. Thanks for listening. And that, my beautiful friends, is another episode of The Midlife Awakening. If you'd like more inspiration or to connect with other midlifers, head on over to my Facebook group, Deliberately Transformed. You'll find the link in the show notes. Until next time, cheers.